Hey, this is Josh Lawrence. I wanted to make a quick video for you about testing your soil for growing grapevines. If you're wondering how do I grow grapes, one of the first issues you need to address is the soil for growing grapes. Don't fret if your soil isn't what a farmer would consider rich, quality soil. Believe it or not, grapes have an affinity for gravelly or stony soil. In fact, the best land for growing grapes is most farmers would consider infertile. One reason you often see grapevines growing on a hillside is that due to soil erosion, the stony ground that's left is ideal for grapes. Bottomland soils are much richer and often too rich for grapes. There are three general classifications of soil. There's clay, sand, and silt. Grapevines will grow well in all three types, providing there is good water drainage. Well-drained soils are warmer, and this promotes better ripening and vine growth. How soil elements affect grapes. Grapes grown from soils that are high in iron will produce wines with a slight cloudiness. This cloudiness is also called a ferric cast. The ferric cast is very difficult to get rid of without sophisticated equipment. Soils with a reddish tint are usually high in iron. Soils with a high boron content will cause higher sugar content in the grape and will speed up maturity. Boron-rich soils will also raise the pH level in the grape crop. It has been shown that soils that are high in phosphorus produce wines with a higher iron content. Checking your soil's pH level. When planting grapevines, it's important to know the pH level of your soil. Depending on the type of grapes you want to grow, some prefer alkaline soil and some prefer more acidity in the soil. You can test your soil's pH level by getting a pH meter and using it on a damp soil sample from your property. You can find a pH meter at a hardware and gardening store. A pH of 8.0 or higher shows a high alkalinity in the soil. You can add gypsum to the soil to lessen the alkalinity. A pH under 6.0 shows an overly acid soil. You can add limestone to your soil to lessen this acidity. Determining soil type. Most soils are a mixture of silt, sand and clay, stones, and organic matter. This mixture is also called loam. The best grapevine soil is generally a mixture of all three of these types. Too much of one type can cause problems for growing grapevines. An easy way to test your soil type is to take a glass jar and fill it half full of soil from your prospective planting area. Try to get a core sample down to about 8 inches. Fill the jar with water and shake it. Then set the water aside and let it settle for 2 or 3 days. The heavy sand will settle first, followed by the silt, and then the clay. The organic matter will float. Ideal loam contains about 45% sand, 35% silt, and 20% clay. If your settled soil layers are severely out of these proportions, these problems can be corrected. You'll want to make sure your soil is at least 30 inches deep. In other words, if you don't want bedrock or some other impenetrable layer within the top 30 inches. The reason is that grape roots grow deep. In fact, if they have the room, grape roots will grow as deeply as 6 feet down. Drainage is very important. It's very important that you find an area to plant your grapes in that has good drainage. Grapes don't like wet ground. Generally, the deeper the soil, the better it will drain. That's it for this installment. Of course, there's much more in my Grape Growing Secrets mini course, which you can immediately get right now on my website at howtoigrowgrapes.com. So if you want to learn how to grow thriving grape plants that produce loads of fat, juicy, great-tasting grapes, just enter your name and email address in the form on the website. You'll get your first installment right away. Thank you for your time.